This was a bad week to be a Nationals fan, to be a part of the Nationals organization. It was not a good one as you got swept by the San Diego Padres. But you know what would make it a lot better? Called up James Wood.
You are Locked On Nationals, your daily Washington Nationals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. And of course, I'm your host, Ryan Clary. You can catch me over on Twitter at RyanClary11 and as well as our show page at LO_Nationals. For all your latest Nationals news and notes, make sure to check us out over on Twitter. And of course, if you're at it, make sure to search Locked On Nationals wherever you get your podcast, including over on YouTube. Hit that subscriber button, drop a thumbs up or a thumbs down, leave a comment. Whatever you do will make me happy if that makes you happy. Later on in today's show, the Nationals, they've got the day off today. They need it. You just got swept by the Padres. It was not a pretty series. So let's look at the wild card race as the Nationals, again, they got swept in San Diego in a pretty crucial wild card race spot at this moment in time, about a month out or so, a little bit over a month until the trade deadline. The Nationals, you're going to need some help. We'll have that discussion in the third segment of today's show as the Nats, do they still have their hopes alive for the wild card race? Second segment, getting into the trade deadline because, again, the Nationals, you don't really know what they're doing at this point in time. Obviously, you have veterans like Jesse Winker and Lane Thomas, two guys in the outfield who, do they fit that well into the future? Is this the time to sell both of them at this moment in time? We'll have that discussion in the second segment of today's show. But we start off discussing number 3 prospect in all of baseball, according to MLB.com, James Wood. And everybody, the time to call up James Wood is not yesterday, it's today. Before we get into it, this episode of Locked On Nationals is brought to you by Booking.com. The right stay can make you a fan of any city, even your rivals. Check out Booking.com for your stay today. And kind of getting into what we were talking about here, right now feels like the right time to call up James Wood. It just does. If you can kind of feel the air that we are breathing, it feels as if the walls are kind of caving in on the Nationals. And there is always a method to the madness when it comes to calling up a top prospect. When you are calling up someone of James Wood caliber, you kind of need a little bit of juice. This Nationals lineup, they need all the juice that they can get at this point. Every bit of this lineup. At this moment in time, what has hurt the Nationals so far the most through 2024? You can talk about maybe some inconsistent bullpen guys. Maybe there's some inconsistencies in the offense. But if you really nail it down to one big thing, it is the Nationals' power structure at this moment in time. You don't have a true power bat in this system, in this lineup at this moment, to hit guys in like CJ Abrams. To have guys like Lane Thomas when he's on the base path, you don't really have anybody to hit them in at this moment. Jesse Winker has been awesome. He has been great so far this season, but that's not really his job. And that's kind of become his job. If you were to add someone like a James Wood in this lineup, this Nationals offense would look a lot different in my opinion. Now, would it fix everything? Are we just a James Wood away from being a true contender? I don't think so. I think we need some more pieces around this puzzle. But if you were to look at the sole reason, in my opinion, why this Nationals team would probably lose a series like they just did to the Padres, which I don't even want to talk about at this moment in time. It was a bad series. You blew leads. It was an ugly one. But if you were to pinpoint one issue, I look at the lack of power. This Nationals team, we've all known for quite some time that this isn't really a wild card team, in my opinion. This isn't really a top 5 team in the National League. I think we know that. But one thing to kind of get us an inch closer to that threshold is to add a power bat like a James Wood in the middle of your order. If you were to look at the numbers so far, because James Wood has now played 50 games down in AAA. And oh, by the way, what he did down in spring training for this Nationals team, he was their best hitter. Not in the minors, but in the major league lineup. There was a real competition going on. Maybe he was never going to crack the major league lineup on opening day, but there had to have been a conversation at some point. The way that they left him up in big league camp, he was still getting at bats nearly every single game down in Florida, as he should have, by the way. But through his first 50 games down in AAA now, and again, this is his first stint in AAA. He finished the season last year in AA, kind of struggled a little bit there. But this season, through 50 games, he's batting .352. He's got a .464 OBP, which in my opinion is one of the more impressive stats so far this season. He has a .588 slug. That adds up to a .1052 OPS on this year. And by the way, he's got 10 home runs and 34 RBIs. Looking back in the last year, you kind of want to see how prospects adjust and kind of see what they can do to make themselves better. Well, going into this offseason, the number one thing for James Wood was to cut down on the strikeouts. Well, he did. Last year, he struck out more than basically 1 every 4 at-bats in last year's season. This year, he has only struck out 41 times through his first 50 games. And also, on top of that, he's walked 39 times in his first 50 games. Those two numbers right then and there, you can forget the slash line. Those are his two issues that he really needed to work on, and now you're starting to see him kind of pick that up a little bit. Because if you were to kind of think about it this way, listen, we're all Nats fans here. We root for this team. Adding James Wood into this lineup now not only gives you a little bit of juice going into the summer, but it also just makes sense. It just simply makes sense. Looking at it right now, the Nationals, you've got an 8-game homestand starting Monday, July 1st. That's all I'm saying. Monday, July 1st against the New York Mets at home, Monday night. You come back from D.C. Hopefully you beat up on the Tampa Bay Rays this weekend, who, by the way, they've also been a very hot team. James Wood could add a lot of juice in this lineup if you were to add him, maybe by sometime this next homestand. And it does make sense at this moment in time. He's been rehabbing. He's been working his way back up. He's been in AAA, getting consistent at-bats at this point. James Wood, if it wasn't for the injury, probably would have been in this Nationals lineup maybe 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago. That's how close we were to seeing James Wood up in the majors. But right now, forget everything else. The Nationals, they need a little bit of juice. You need some swagger in this offensive situation here. You need power. You need James Wood. Simple as that. You see it around all of Major League Baseball. Call up your prospects, and maybe sometimes it does kind of fall flat in your head. You saw with Ellie De La Cruz last year at the Cincinnati Reds. Wildly, insanely good prospect. One of the best to come out of the minors for the last few years. One of the most talented guys that we have seen. He started off real hot, got real cold, but the Cincinnati Reds stuck with it, and now you're starting to see him kind of break out this year. James Wood could be on that similar timeline, in my opinion. And again, where does he fit? Well, he could probably play in left field because, again, he did play left field the other night too, which, by the way, kind of gets your antenna up a little bit. That's why I'm saying at this moment in time, James Wood, not only does it make sense, but I think the time is now to make the call for have the number 3 prospect in all of baseball make the jump to the major leagues. July 1st, circle that calendar on your date, on your calendar, or circle that date on your calendar rather, because I think maybe that's when it makes the most sense to have James Wood up in the majors. We'll see what happens. But ultimately, Mike Rizzo, Davey Martinez, they're going to have to make the call. And I think James Wood is ready to be a Washington National. Simple. Thank you all for making Locked On Nats your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, you can check us out over on YouTube. Just search Locked On Nationals there, and that is where you'll find your daily updates on the Washington Nationals. And of course, check us out over on Twitter. Just search Ryan Cleary 11. Hit me a follow there. You can tweet at me during the game. I'll probably tweet back at you with my own synopsis of the game. So later on in the show today, Nats wildcard hopes. What will be happening? We'll have that discussion a little bit later on, but next, trade deadline talk. If James Wood were to get the call up, it's going to shake up the outfield just a little bit. You've got two veteran guys right now, Lane Thomas and Jesse Winker. Their names have been floated in trade conversations all year long, even for Lane Thomas dating back to last year. Jesse Winker has kind of had this revolution here with the Washington Nationals, kind of reviving his career a little bit. And we'll have that discussion for you next, because what will the Nationals do, especially if you were to call up James Wood? We'll have that for you. But let me tell you guys about some of our very good friends over at Tax Network USA. And guys, here on Locked On Nationals, we pride ourselves on getting you the latest news for your team, whether it's the offseason, the draft, spring training, or the playoffs, and it's year-round. You know what else is year-round? Collection season. Just because tax season is over doesn't mean the IRS will stop coming after you for unfiled taxes. The IRS can garnish your wages, levy your bank accounts, and even seize your property. Don't let the IRS target you. Let the licensed professionals and tax experts at Tax Network USA go to bat for you. With over 14 years of experience and an A+ rating by the Better Business Bureau, Tax Network USA has saved their clients over $1 billion in tax debt. Whether you owe taxes, have complicated matters that require tax planning, or finally hit that parlay this season and you need help correctly filing, all you'll have to do is call 1-800-549-1000 or visit tnusa.com/lockedon. See the link in this episode description below. Next, let me tell you guys about some of our very good friends, longtime friends even, over at eBay Motors. And guys, passion, drive, and patience, the formula for winning championships, is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance: superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the price you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Again, keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Now we get into it with the Nationals, as you've got a big decision coming up with this trade deadline. We are just about a month out from this trade deadline. The Nationals, you've got a ton of intriguing options right now. You could go two different ways at this point. You could stay put, or you could sell. Number one, let's attack that question. Simple. You have to sell. Don't even think twice about it, in fact. The reason why the Nationals are in this situation right now, the reason why the Nationals have been so successful so far in 2024, is because of the way that they have maneuvered around the trade deadline. Look around the Nationals right now. Number one, your top prospect, and probably, if not the best prospect in all of baseball right now, James Wood, was acquired via trade from those San Diego Padres back in the Juan Soto deal. We're not going to discuss that anymore. We all know the deal. It was a great deal. C.J. Abrams, part of that deal as well. Mackenzie Gore, part of that deal as well. If you look back to your most valuable player over the last two seasons, Lane Thomas, was acquired via a trade deadline deal. When you are in a situation in which the Nationals are in right now, you don't have to sell out everything anymore. This is not a team where if you are not under contract next season or for the next few years, your name is open at this point. But in my opinion, of where the Nationals stand at this rate, and really where we are in this rebuild, you have to have some sort of foresight into what's going to be happening in the future. You know that James Wood is going to be a stud. It's not guaranteed, but I'm willing to take that gamble right now. I know that Dylan Cruz will be a stud. Again, same situation with James Wood. It's not guaranteed, but I'm going to take that gamble. Those are two outfield spots that are going to be playing every single day. Two of the best prospects in all of baseball at this point. Both knocking on the door of the major leagues, both at AAA Rochester. So, you look in the outfield right now, you've got Jacob Young, who is your 9-hitter, playing very good, very valuable defense in center field. One of the best defensive metrics out there if it comes for center fielders in the National League. Then you have Jesse Winker in left, and you have Lane Thomas in right, and that is where it brings us to this discussion here. Jacob Young is not going to be traded. Just end of story there. He'll probably be your fourth outfielder. He'll be your center fielder until Dylan Cruz is ready to make the jump at this point. But right now, where the Nationals stand, Jesse Winker, let's start with him here. You have to trade him. Simple. It's not even a discussion in my mind. Now, if the Nationals were to hold on to him, would it be the end of the world? Not really. But also, where does Jesse Winker fit in your future? He's not really in the equation as far as the Nationals go. He's not really going to be on your next postseason team, even if it's this year. Even if you want to make a wild card run this season. Would he be part of that? Absolutely. He'd still be your starting left fielder or wherever you decide to put him. But Jesse Winker should not be a part of that. And that's unfortunate. He's been great. He's been a fan favorite. He's been awesome for this team so far in 2024. But going forward, you have to have your eyes on the future. Jesse Winker, unfortunately, just isn't part of that future. It has been an awesome story for him. But if you were to get a DJ Hurst type of prospect back for him, similar to what you got with Jeimer Candelario last year, see the price that it's paid this season? Have you seen what DJ Hurst has done? While he hasn't been all that consistent, you see the ceiling. You see him going 7 innings pitched, striking out 13 batters, giving up 1 hit against the Miami Marlins with 0 walks. You see that. You see back at the trade deadline when you trade away John Lester for Lane Thomas. Mike Rizzo has a track record of flipping guys and doing it in a very good way. Jesse Winker is going to be traded. I'm preparing you right now. It's going to happen. No ifs, no ands, no buts. He's going to be traded. At this moment in time, you have to take the best package for Jesse Winker and don't even think twice about it. He's going to be gone. This is not someone who will be in your outfielder in 2 years. And I think that's the question that you have to ask yourself. Will this person be a part of this Nationals team and the foundation over the next 2 seasons? I don't think so. Which then brings up the more intriguing question with Lane Thomas. This is kind of one of those ones where you don't have all the clarity out there. You could make a good argument either way. Will Lane Thomas be a part of this future? Or is he just part of the now and he's just a good story and there's really no piece for him down the line here? Well, at this point, I wish there was a more clear answer for you. If you get a prospect package, and it's not going to be something crazy, but let's say a team gives you one of their better prospects in the system, or at least offers that up, you have to take it. Because again, Lane Thomas, could I see him here in DC over the next 2 seasons? Yeah, absolutely. Again, this has been one of your better players over the last 2 years, has won your MVP award over these last 2 seasons, has been your best offensive piece, again, in 2022 and in 2023. And even the second half of 2021, he was probably your best bat coming off the bench there. But Lane Thomas fits into this future, but for how long? Because again, Lane Thomas is kind of like one of those guys where, yeah, he's been really good. We enjoy it. We've seen the progress that he has made. You see that he has become a legit major leaguer every single day. He's really good out in right field. He's solid at the plate. He's got some power. He can run the bases. He's a clubhouse leader. He's got everything that you would ask for a Lane Thomas. And again, you traded him for John Lester. Unbelievable trade. One of the best that Mike Rizzo has ever made outside of the Juan Soto trade, in my opinion. But if you were to get the right package for him, let's say you were to get a top 100 prospect for him. I don't think the Nationals can, but let's say you did. You take that deal and you run with it. Now, I don't want some lottery ticket kind of free agent out there who could be something down the line. Now, if you look back in the past with teams like the Dodgers and making trades like the Pirates did, or the Astros and the Dodgers from years past, they traded away guys like Yordan Alvarez, who are like 17, 18-year-old DSL prospects you didn't really know too much about. And then also O'Neal Cruz got sent over to the Pittsburgh Pirates, kind of that same situation. And now they're the stars of the future here. Yordan Alvarez has been one of the best power hitters in all of baseball since 2019. O'Neal Cruz seems to have a very bright future over at shortstop with the Pittsburgh Pirates. So you could end up in situations like that, but the Nationals are about to be in win now mode. You have all these prospects knocking on the door, and if the Nationals were to get a AA, AAA kind of prospect, someone who might be a year away at most, getting someone like that for a Lane Thomas, who is also just a good prospect with a track record, maybe someone who is young, maybe you get someone who's right now ready for the majors and they get called up and they're playing the second half of the season, then I would do that trade for Lane Thomas. It's one of those tricky situations where it really depends on what you get. But what one thing is for sure is you're not going to sell off Lane Thomas for just the best package out there. You have to really like what you get. Jesse Winker, on the other hand, you just get whatever is best out there. The best one, take it. Lane Thomas on the other foot, you take someone who is probably going to overbuy for a Lane Thomas. Maybe going to give you a little bit more than what Lane Thomas is really worth at this moment. That is where the Nationals stand at this moment in time. There is no clear line for where they stand. But one thing is for sure. Jesse Winker, traded. Lane Thomas, if someone's going to overbuy for him, you take that package as well. Thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, you can check us out over on YouTube. Just search Locked On Nationals there. And of course, while you're at it, make sure to check us out over on YouTube and as well as Twitter. Search me at Ryan Clary 11, and that is where you will find that for me. Next, let me tell you guys about our very good friends over at Booking.com. And guys, Booking.com, this episode of Locked On Nationals is brought to you by Booking.com. Yeah, when travel summer heating up, especially travel for baseball games, it's time to explore those U.S. cities you always secretly wanted to learn more about. Yes, we're talking about your rivals, cities with hotels, bed and breakfast, vacation rentals, resorts, and so much more. On Booking.com, you might just find your perfect stay, even in your baseball's rivals city. Maybe you want to go up to New York or even Tampa this weekend. You can do this. You can look up Booking.com and you can have hotels that look over stadiums to family-friendly resorts. And of course, Tampa, it's beautiful. You have beaches there. Booking.com has so many choices across the U.S. for your summer travel this MLB season. Like with Wrigleyville coming up in August, you can even go to Chicago, get a nice little hotel there. I've been looking at that as well. So all you have to do is book with Booking.com. The right stay can make you a fan of any U.S. city, even your rivals. Book today on Booking.com on the site or in the Booking.com app. Now, let me tell you guys about some of our very good friends over at LinkedIn. And guys, when we talk about LinkedIn, you all know that some people may be struggling to close deals. Well, B2B selling is tougher than ever, and that's why I want to tell you about LinkedIn Sales Navigator. LinkedIn Sales Navigator is a sales intelligence platform that helps professionals effectively prospect and engage high-value customers, drive higher revenue, and increase sales performance. Sales Navigator helps you target the right buyers, surface key signals such as job changes or which accounts you should prioritize, and shows you hidden allies so you can find those buyers that are most likely to convert. Fueled by LinkedIn's 1 billion member platform, Sales Navigator gives you the most up-to-date first-party data, enabling you to unblock conversations with the right people that matter. Right now, you can try LinkedIn Sales Navigator and get a 60-day free trial at linkedin.com/lockedon. That is linkedin.com/lockedon for a 60-day free trial. Let LinkedIn Sales Navigator help you sell like a superstar today. Just go to linkedin.com/lockedon and get started. Thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. So the Nationals, you entered that Padres series, being about a half game back from a wild card spot. You're in pretty deep there with the Padres. Ultimately, you got swept. It was not a pretty series. And now the Nationals, well, they sit at 38-42. You are now 3.5 games back from a wild card spot. Looking at this, it's not the end of the world. Again, this is probably where you thought the Nationals were. Even then, if you were to tell me that the Nationals were 38-42 by the midway point of this season, I would be pretty happy. I mean, simple as that. I would be pretty thrilled, in fact. The Nationals had been good. Like, this has been a fun team to watch. And again, you get kind of sucked back into it and you want to see them win. But at this moment in time, the Nationals are much more pretenders than they are contenders. That's the reality of it. You're 3.5 games back right now. And if you look across the National League, you see teams like the New York Mets, who now sit only 1.5 games back from a wild card spot. If it wasn't for the Nationals being swept by the Padres, they'd be a lot closer to a wild card spot right now. But they have won 8 of their last 10 games, talking about the New York Mets. Then you also look at a team like the Pittsburgh Pirates. Since calling up Paul Skeens, they seem to be a much different team. They've got the juice back in that stadium. PNC Park is jumping every 5 days now. And also a team like the San Francisco Giants. These teams are starting to look a lot better. And the National League has been very competitive really from the get-go. And the reason why that is because the National League isn't all that good. Like when people are talking about how the way that it is competitive this year, it's competitive for really all the wrong reasons. Like right now, if you were to look across Major League Baseball as a whole, the National League, there is just a big old clutter of teams that are 2 games back, 3.5 games back, that all kind of sit at like 37 to 39 wins right now. There are multiple teams right now with 39 wins across Major League or across the National League that sits with the New York Mets, the Diamondbacks, the Pirates, and the Giants. And then you have the Nationals who sit there with 38 wins. And then you have the Reds who sit with 37 wins, as well as the Cubs. The National League is really a massive just you-know-what show at this moment in time. I don't see the Nationals climbing up and being one of the third team or one of the top 3 teams to make a wild card run at this moment in time. Even if they were, are you better than the Braves? No, we know that. Are you even better than the Cardinals? I mean, there's a case to be had, but they've got a lot of veterans who have been in big situations before. Unfortunately, I will take those veterans over the Nationals' young guys at this point. So the Nationals, to stay competitive, you know what you're going to have to do? Call up James Wood. That is the only way I could see the Nationals at this moment. And also, James Wood would have to be playing some damn good baseball. You sit 3.5 games back now. You play the Tampa Bay Rays starting tomorrow. There are some implications there, but they have also been a very hot team, by the way, because, again, the Tampa Bay Rays, they started off the season pretty damn poor. They have won 7 of their last 10 games. They're at home. The Trop is always kind of a weird, tough place to play. And it's not because of the fans, it's because of the roof there. You all know it. I don't need to explain it anymore. We'll have that preview on tomorrow's Locked On Nationals. But still, the Nats, we'll see what they do. But ultimately right now, the wild card race, it's a show. Thank you all for making Locked On Nats your first listen every single day. We will catch you on tomorrow's show. Again, we flushed the Padres series down the toilet. Who cares? It doesn't matter anymore. I'll catch you on the flip side. Have a good one.